Silence has always been mistaken for absence, as if power only exists when it makes noise. In reality, silence is pressure without movement. It is the decision not to rush into visibility. Those who speak last are often assumed to lack strength, yet they are the ones watching patterns form. When you remain quiet, you remove yourself from reaction and step into position. Others adjust, explain, and expose, while you stay untouched. This stillness is not fear, it is selection. It signals that you are not competing for attention, because attention will come to you. Power begins the moment you stop needing to prove yourself. Quiet strength unsettles crowds because it refuses to bend, chase approval, or announce intent openly. People who speak loudly believe volume protects them. It does the opposite. Every rushed opinion, every forced joke, every unnecessary explanation sketches a clear outline of fear, desire, and motive. Noise shortens distance. It makes a person readable in seconds. Restraint does the reverse. When you do not rush to fill silence, others lean forward. They reveal priorities through repetition and emotion. You are not fighting them. You are observing. The quiet position creates separation. You are no longer inside the chaos of expression. You stand above it, intact, patient, and difficult to measure. Loudness feels powerful, but it collapses mystery. While silence stretches influence across time quietly, steadily, endlessly. Machiavelli is often imagined as a manipulator, speaking endlessly about control. In truth, he watched more than he spoke. His understanding of power came from patience, from seeing rulers expose themselves through impatience. Silence allowed him to notice timing, mood, and weakness without interference. He understood that words used to early weaken authority, while quiet observation sharpens judgment. This was not secrecy for deception, but restraint for clarity. By remaining silent, he stayed ahead of events rather than trapped inside them. His lesson was simple and uncomfortable. Those who wait understand more than those who rush. He treated silence as preparation, not absence, knowing that power favors those who see before acting calmly, consistently, without haste, or noise ever unnecessarily. Uncertainty unsettles because it removes reference points. When someone cannot read you, they cannot predict you, and prediction is how people feel safe. Silence creates a gap where certainty should be. In that gap, control quietly shifts. You are no longer reacting to the world. The world reacts to you. Nothing aggressive is required. No display of dominance is needed. Your calm becomes leverage simply by refusing to clarify itself. Others slow down, choose words carefully, and hesitate. This hesitation is not confusion. It is caution. They sense boundaries without seeing them. Power here is internal. It does not push outward. It stabilizes inward, allowing you to remain untouched while attention circles around you, searching for signals that never arrive, growing cautious, respectful, and slightly unsure of their assumptions forming. Stillness invites imagination. When you say less, others say more inside their own minds. They fill the quiet with guesses, meanings, and stories that feel accurate to them. A pause becomes intention. A neutral expression becomes judgment. Silence bends perception without effort. You do nothing, yet interpretations multiply. This creates a quiet advantage. While others project, you remain unchanged. You watch reactions appear where none were placed. Some lean closer, others grow uneasy. Both reveal themselves. The amusement comes from restraint, not mockery. You are not manipulating thought. You are allowing it to wander freely, knowing that whatever appears says more about them than it ever could about you, and leaves you quietly observing without correction or emotional involvement attached. Being undefined removes pressure. When people cannot label you, they cannot place expectations on you. You are not forced to defend an image or perform a role. Ambiguity keeps your options open. It allows movement without explanation and growth without announcement. Silence protects this space. It prevents premature conclusions from hardening into limits. Others guess, adjust, and adapt, while you remain free to choose direction later. This freedom is subtle but expansive. It clears mental weight. You stop carrying explanations for decisions not yet made. By remaining undefined, you keep authority over timing, identity, and action, letting life reveal itself before you commit, without apology, justification, or urgency. It slows, demands, softens judgment, and preserves energy for moments that truly require presence and deliberate response rather than impulse or reaction. When you leave space untouched, conversations tilt quietly. Most people feel pressure to fill silence, as if emptiness signals failure. You feel none of it. You sit comfortably while the other person adjusts posture, tone, and pace. Words start arriving unevenly. They offer extra details, repeat points, and search your face for approval. You are not dominating the exchange. You are letting it reveal its structure. The imbalance forms naturally. One side speaks, the other observes. This steadiness changes rhythm. Time slows. Attention sharpens. You begin to see habits, insecurities, confidence, and restraint appear without effort. By not filling space, you turn dialogue into a mirror, reflecting what usually stays hidden beneath polite conversation. Without force, intention, performance, or explanation, silence carries an unspoken invitation that few resist. Faced with quiet, people assume they must clarify themselves. They explain motives no one questioned. They justify choices already accepted. The longer the pause lasts, the more information spills forward. This is not weakness. It is reflex. Humans fear being misunderstood more than being exposed. So they correct imaginary judgments and defend against imagined doubts. You do nothing, yet insight accumulates. Patterns emerge through repetition and emphasis. What they linger on matters. What they rush past matters more. Over-explaining is a gift wrapped in urgency. When you remain still, others unwrap themselves willingly, believing they are maintaining control, unaware they are mapping their inner priorities aloud. Through speech driven by discomfort alone, noise feels productive, but it is careless. Every unnecessary word releases data. Tone reveals emotion. Speed reveals anxiety. Volume reveals insecurity or dominance. In trying to control perception, people expose structure. Silence reverses this flow. You collect instead of broadcast. While others fill the air, you notice what repeats, what contradicts, what slips out unintentionally. Information leaks fastest when someone believes they are being convincing. You are not interrogating. You are listening without interruption. This creates clarity without pressure. Over time, the quiet position sharpens judgment. You begin to understand intentions before they are acted upon. Silence becomes a filter, separating signal from noise, allowing insight to form naturally, without force, effort, or confrontation. while maintaining distance, calm, and advantage. Speaking too early feels decisive, but it quietly shrinks your position. The moment you rush to respond, you lock yourself into a shape others can push against. Reaction hands control outward. Machiavelli understood that restraint preserves leverage because it keeps outcomes unfinished. When nothing is settled, possibilities remain open. Silence buys time, and time exposes angles emotion cannot see. By waiting, you avoid defending thoughts that have not matured. Others reveal direction while you stay flexible. The stakes rise internally because you are choosing composure over relief. Not speaking becomes an active stance. It signals that you are not moved by pressure or urgency. You are allowing events to show their weight before deciding how much of yourself to place into the moment, without apology, hesitation, doubt, or explanation ever. Power is not stored in language, but in when language arrives. Delayed expression changes gravity. A thought held back gains density, while immediate speech dissipates. Machiavelli favored timing because it aligns action with advantage, not impulse. Waiting sharpens relevance. Words spoken later land heavier because context has ripened. Silence stretches moments, letting others commit first. Their positions harden while yours remains fluid. This patience feels uncomfortable to most, which is why it works. You are not withholding to manipulate. You are listening for alignment between moment and intention. When expression finally arrives, it does not ask permission. It concludes what was already decided internally, shaped by observation rather than emotion or haste. This control comes from discipline practiced quietly long before visible outcomes appear and shapes authority without force applied. Influence begins before sound. Long before words form, judgment is already in motion. Silence allows calculation to occur beneath the surface, unseen and uninterrupted. Machiavelli viewed influence as positioning, not persuasion. You observe timing, mood, alliances, and momentum before stepping forward. This preparation makes speech almost unnecessary. When you finally speak, influence has already settled. Others feel it rather than analyze it. The calculation happens in stillness, where emotion fades and patterns stand out. Nothing is rushed. Nothing is forced. You act from foresight, not reaction. Silence becomes the quiet workshop where outcomes are shaped, ensuring that when words appear, they merely confirm what was decided calmly in advance. This unseen process protects authority and reduces error, while preserving distance from chaos and strengthens clarity before action begins, slowly, consistently. Reactions feel natural, but they quietly trade authority for relief. The moment emotion spills outward, control leaks with it. Anger explains itself. Defensiveness invites challenge. Excitement promises more than it can deliver. Silence interrupts this exchange. By not reacting, you keep emotion internal, where it can be examined instead of displayed. Authority grows when others cannot trigger visible shifts in you. Calm responses signal depth, not distance. You are not suppressing feeling. You are choosing where it belongs. When emotion stays contained, decisions stay clean. Power remains intact because nothing essential was given away. Silence becomes armor, absorbing impact without reflecting it back, allowing you to remain centered while pressure passes and clarity returns without struggle over time quietly within. Silence does not escalate tension, it lowers temperature. In moments of conflict, words act like sparks. multiplying heat with every response. Stillness removes fuel. When you choose not to react immediately, the emotional charge has nowhere to land. Voices slow, gestures soften. The situation stabilizes without effort. This calm is not surrender. It is containment. You become the steady surface others adjust themselves against. Over time, agitation loses momentum because it feeds on resistance. Silence denies that exchange. You listen without absorbing the emotion directed at you. This creates space for reason to re-enter the room naturally. Conflict dissolves not because it was defeated, but because it was not fed. Your calm becomes the quiet center others orbit, grounding the moment until clarity replaces friction and presence remains intact as understanding slowly settles inward again. Calmly, they're quietly, fully balanced. When you refuse to engage emotionally, others often exhaust themselves. They push, explain, repeat, and escalate, expecting resistance. Silence offers none. Without friction, effort feels heavy. The energy they bring has no surface to strike, so it turns inward. This is not cruelty. It is non-participation. You are not winning an argument. You are stepping outside it. As emotion burns without response, it consumes itself. Clarity emerges naturally once intensity fades. You remain composed, not triumphant. This quiet dominance comes from endurance, not force. By letting others expend themselves, you preserve focus and position. Silence protects you while revealing. Who cannot sustain control without reaction over time patiently? Observed calmly, without urgency, pressure, or emotional involvement. Remaining steady and clear, leaders rarely compete for airtime. They do not rush to prove relevance because relevance has already been assigned to them. In any hierarchy, those at the top speak less, not because they have nothing to say, but because others are already listening. Followers fill space to be seen. Leaders let space form around them. This quiet is not distance. It is gravity. Their words arrive measured, shaped by context, and received with weight. Authority is signaled through restraint, not volume. When you speak less, you train others to pay closer attention when you do. Over time, silence becomes an identifier. It places you closer to decision-making than performance, closer to influence than reaction, and closer to power than explanation. Attention naturally drifts toward what does not ask for it. Stillness stands out in noisy environments because it breaks rhythm. While others compete for notice through expression, the quiet presence creates contrast. Eyes return to it unconsciously. People sense that something unspoken is being held back, and that restraint feels deliberate. This is not charisma in motion, but gravity at rest. Attention follows what appears self-contained. Silence suggests confidence without display, intention without urgency. Over time, this draws focus without effort. You do not chase engagement. Engagement arrives on its own. The absence of demand becomes the signal. Others adjust their behavior, lower their tone, and wait. Stillness guides the room without instruction, shaping dynamics through presence alone. Unspoken presence carries weight because it is not diluted by explanation. When you enter a space calmly and speak only when necessary, your existence registers before your words do. This creates a form of authority that does not rely on assertion. People feel it rather than analyze it. Silence gives your presence edges. It defines boundaries without announcing them. You do not need to dominate physically or verbally. The lack of noise creates depth. Others become aware of themselves around you. Conversations slow. Movements soften. This is not intimidation. It is influence rooted in composure. By saying less, you become harder to ignore and easier to respect. Your presence settles into the environment quietly, shaping behavior without resistance, effort, or demand. Silence can unsettle more than words ever could. The unresponsive mind creates a subtle fear because it denies predictability. When someone sits calmly without reaction, others start to fill gaps with assumptions, often exaggerated or alarming. People glance for cues, test boundaries, and measure reactions that never appear. Each unanswered question, each unacknowledged comment stretches uncertainty. It is not aggression. It is the simple refusal to validate expectation. This discomfort is power at work. Those around you begin to hesitate, weigh words, and second-guess impulses. They sense control without seeing it. The quiet mind becomes a mirror of their own projections, reflecting nothing, yet revealing everything. Fear emerges not from threat, but from the absence of response. A space where the unknown quietly dominates perception. Stillness can pressure without movement. In any interaction, tension accumulates naturally, but silence channels it strategically. When you do not engage, the room adjusts itself. Others speak faster, clarify more, repeat unnecessarily. The lack of feedback turns noise into evidence. Every misstep, every hesitation is amplified because the mind seeks equilibrium. You are not forcing outcomes. You are allowing them to emerge from the other side. Quiet becomes leverage. Observation sharpens, while energy misdirects itself elsewhere. Influence is no longer spoken, it is absorbed. Every glance, pause, and unfilled space exerts subtle weight. By remaining still, you bend the psychological environment around you, making others contend with their own impulses rather than your intervention, creating tension that feels unavoidable yet calm, disciplined, and entirely non-reactive. Even power must be measured. Silence as intimidation works only when tempered. Overuse erodes influence because predictability creeps back in when stillness becomes habitual rather than deliberate. People adapt, learning that your unresponsiveness is routine, not choice. Machiavelli observed, this restraint must be strategic, not reflexive. The moment silence loses its meaning, authority weakens. True power lies in knowing when to speak, when to observe, and when to vanish without notice. Over-reliance risks isolation or misinterpretation. The mastery of quiet is subtle, balanced, and intentional. It is not about fear alone, but about calibrated presence. Silence must be edged with purpose, measured to maintain weight without fatigue, leaving others uncertain, attentive, and ultimately guided by your restraint rather than your noise. Silence should never be mistaken for absence. Choosing not to speak is not stepping back from the world, it is stepping into control. Withdrawal signals retreat, but strategic quiet signals mastery. When you hold your words, you remain present while others overcommit themselves. You are observed, considered, and measured, even without participating in every conversation. Authority does not vanish in stillness. It becomes concentrated. People notice restraint as much as expression, often more. Your presence is intact, your intentions intact, and your space untouched. Silence is a tool, not a retreat. It reassures you of your position and signals to others that your attention and energy are deliberate, not reactive. allowing influence to persist without the need for constant engagement or explanation. The power of speech lies not in its frequency, but in its timing. Choosing the exact moment to speak transforms words from noise into leverage. Wait until context, tension, and opportunity converge. Speak only when clarity, necessity, and impact align. Every utterance becomes meaningful because it is measured against the silence that preceded it. Others lean forward, waiting for insight, while you release it with precision. Timing communicates confidence, foresight, and authority. Hesitation is not weakness, but preparation. By observing, calculating, and then expressing, you shape outcomes before engagement begins. The room bends subtly to the thought that has been carefully held, making your words a culmination of strategy rather than impulse, reinforcing control without force, ensuring influence lands exactly where intended. Being heard less amplifies your power far beyond volume or repetition. When you speak selectively, attention and significance attach themselves automatically. Your words gain weight, and presence persists long after speech ends. People remember what you choose to say because it carries intention, not obligation. Silence before speech cultivates anticipation. Silence after speech preserves authority. This advantage is quiet but profound. You are not everywhere, but where it matters most. Being selective grants freedom, preserves energy, and keeps influence concentrated. Mastery lies in knowing when to let the world fill itself with sound, and when your voice alone is enough to shift perception. Command attention and define the moment without effort, proving that restraint is the ultimate strength.